Hey guys, how you doing? I'm coming to you kind of late right now, so my eyes look a little swollen, looking a little tired and beat up. But I definitely been wanting to get this off of my chest, out of my heart, and kind of give this to you guys. Anybody who's going to be watching, please like and share this video. I'm going to be talking on something that I just been noticing that I've been hearing in the news. You talking about it, the news is blasting it. There's so much on the news right now that if you got to go to the right news source, really. And there's so much going on, from the attacks against like AT&T and like cable news carriers. They're trying to force them to dump a bunch of conservative networks like OAN and Newsmax, and they're threatening them, even though they don't have the legal right to do so, but yet they're trying to force them to make a move in that direction. It's called censoring. The Nazis did it. When they controlled the media, the Nazis put forward their own agenda, kind of really putting out their own information. We all know that. Even the Japanese did that. You know, they manipulated the news. They told their public that, hey man, they're winning the war, and Japan is on the rise, America is falling, FDR passed away, they're retreating. But yet in actuality, that wasn't even the case. The Japanese were losing big time. But that's what happens. You get to manipulate and you get to say your version of the story. And I believe that has happened so much. It's just been a rampant increase in this past couple years, where the media is just like not even trying to hide it anymore. They're doing it blatantly in your face, and they're like, what are you gonna do about it? You ain't gonna do nothing about it. And now that they've partnered with the Democrat Party, and the Democrat Party has strongly protected big tech, and they're censoring is strongly protecting Democrats, as we saw in the last election. So anyways, all this to say, it's not even about that really. Maybe I could get to talking about that. I'll do a video about that. But I'm actually going to be talking about the Equality Act. I don't know if you guys have followed any of that stuff. I just made some notes right here in my notepad. And I don't know if you guys have even been following any of that at all. But the Equality Act is a piece of legislation that they're trying to put forward, or legally known as House Resolution Bill 5. So HR 5 is the name of it. It's the Equality Act, and it seeks to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964, I believe, and then start changing some of the wording in that to where it includes where if you want an abortion, and if a state refuses to do it because the state has the right to, if Roe v. Wade was to be overturned, a state would have the right to decline an abortion service to someone seeking to kill their child in an abortion. Well, what they're trying to do is trying to get with this Equality Act and so much other garbage in there that's just totally catered to the LGBTQ agenda and that whole thing, which is purely demonic and witchcraft. So what they're trying to do is insert this Equality Act, which really in itself is an oxymoron. There's nothing equal about it. Actually, in fact, if anything, it disproportionately marginalizes a group of people, and that group of people are the children in the womb. There's nothing equal about it. Where is their voice? If there was equality, then why don't they get a voice, the children in the womb? I bet you anything, 100% of them will say, I want to live. I bet you. It's funny how all those pro-abortion people, even the Congress people that want to kill these children, they're all alive. They're all born. They get the opportunity to breathe and live out that life, right? But yet you kill these children in the womb. See, this is what happens when you remove God from the schools. This is what happens when you remove prayer and Bible from schools. This is what happens. This is what happens when you indoctrinate these kids with this farce of evolution. that we don't have some kind of inalienable right. We are not our creator. We are not created by a higher power authority. So therefore we are not intrinsically valuable. If we're not intrinsically valuable, therefore we're expendable. If we're expendable, well then abortion is unlimited. Killing people in the womb, it doesn't matter because a person doesn't, we just got the luck of the draw kind of thing, which is actually being pushed in some places, in some schools. This is, again, anyways, teacher unions, I have a whole other idea about them too that I could share, but I really want to stick to this Equality Act thing. Just a quick rundown. This thing would force healthcare providers to perform abortions in violation of their own conscience right, which they have the right where if it violates your conscience, you have that right to be a conscientious objector and say, I don't want to be involved in an abortion procedure. You cannot make me, and I cannot lose my job because of it, because it goes against my religious views, it goes against my moral standards, it goes against my beliefs in science, because science itself proves that the child in the womb is a human being. The fetus in the womb is a human. So you could be a conscientious objector and not be religious and not base it on faith at all. It could be based on science itself and you would be in the right. Well, this Equality Act would just completely force that and just completely cut that out the window. And so it forces people to violate their own conscientious objections, okay? So they are disproportionate. They are now marginalized. It discriminates them. The Equality Act discriminates against those of faith, of health practitioners who understand science and know that a fetus is a human being, and of course, it would discriminate against the child in the womb, that one that's going to go in there and that's not going to come out. That's going to get ripped apart, okay? Statistics show that mostly girls are the ones that get aborted. Statistics show that girls are the ones that get aborted the most in an abortion. Therefore, this bill is really anti-woman if you're pushing an abortion agenda. It's not pro-woman, it's not pro-choice, nothing. It has to do with money, it has to do with finances. The abortion industry pushes and they send a lot of money to these Democrats to make sure that they push legislation in their favor. And even some rhinos in there, some Republicans, they get money from abortion industries, and that's why they're very pro-abortion. I wouldn't even call them pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. Hey man, choose your healthcare provider, choose what flavor of ice cream, choose what kind of car you want to drive, choose what school you're going to go to. That's not a problem. But to kill someone, those things are moral wrongs. Just like I can't choose to beat my wife, I can't choose to beat my kids. It's like, no, that's a moral wrong, and anybody would say that. But yeah, I could kill my child because it's in the womb, because it's inconvenient. How is a child in the womb an inconvenience? But yet the moment it's outside of the womb, oh, now it's murder. It's stupid, it's dumb. And these piss poor politicians that are weak and passive and have no backbone, they can't even stand up to the fact and put forward this protect these children that come out of botched abortions, okay? At least that guy, Henry McMaster over there in Carolina, at least he had the courage to do so. He has the courage to do something like that, at least in his own state. But yet Pelosi won't even put that forward. They've tried and tried. Republicans have tried and tried to put it to her desk, put it up to vote. It's just in the House. And she kept denying it and declining it and declining. She wouldn't even put it up for arguments, not even for a debate in the House. That's how savage and wicked she is. Demonic. She has her agenda. The Equality Act, or the H.R. 5 bill, would redefine sex discrimination to gender identity and sexual orientation, okay? And that would alter, again, the Civil Rights Act. It would change that based on color or creed or faith or anything. In the Civil Rights Act, it would also include your gender identity, your right to have an abortion. So basically, they're trying to insert it without putting it in the Constitution, your right to an abortion. And therefore, any hospital that chooses to go against that, or any state or any doctor that chooses to refuse, they could be held up liable and legally and be sued. That's not fair. That's not fair for the doctors, not fair for the states. Let them decide, let them choose. None of this big giant government overreach. This is garbage. Guys, we need to understand how to attack on a local level. You guys don't like a law. You guys don't. The whole minimum wage thing too. It's like $15 an hour. What costs in California is different. What costs in Oklahoma or Kansas or Montana. It's different. Let the states decide, and their constituents, they will let their government know locally. Everything doesn't have to come from the White House. Not everything has to come from Washington, D.C. We need to understand this. This is the way the Founding Fathers had it set up and planned. Actually, they were very pro small government in the states, and they were very hesitant to include a federal government. I think it was Madison and Madison who really pushed more so on a government, like a federal government oversight, only to protect us as a nation, to hold us together, to help bind us together. But now that's been perverted. Jefferson was very against that. He was very into like small government, keep it limited, and keep it to the states. And I think if the states would decide many of these things, a lot of this would not even be a problem. And if media would just shut their face, then a lot of arguments wouldn't even happen. People would be less, and just this whole social media stuff, like people would be just a lot happier, I tell you that. But I'm telling you this to give you some insight, to give you a heads up. Also in the stimulus package, this COVID relief bill, which is garbage. It's more inflation on the dollar. You keep printing out $1.9 trillion based on what? Based on what goods? What goods are produced? You have to have goods in order to back that dollar up. If you're not producing goods, you're just making dollars. All that's doing is depreciating the value of the dollar. That's all it's doing, is just depreciating the value of the dollar. So now what your dollar used to buy, yesterday, it takes you $2 to buy that now. So it doesn't do anything. Therefore, all kinds of stuff changes and everything. But that doesn't mean that minimum wage has to go up the way it does. Leave that to the states. Sure, it may have to go up in some areas, but it doesn't have to go up to $15 in all areas. Let each state and each county decide that. Let them choose on a local level. This is what happens when you give big government too much power. Because once you make legislation, it's hard to reverse legislation. It's extremely difficult. Anyways, this COVID stimulus package is said to include 591 pages. And on page 95 of the stimulus package, they try to sneak in there this COBRA healthcare insurance subsidy, okay, which basically is pushing all this money into this program by the billions, just for health care, okay? But there's no restrictions on abortions, so you can use the money towards abortions. And they're purposely removing the Hyde Amendment from there. Now, the Hyde Amendment has been around for like 50 years and has been a very bipartisan piece of legislation that whenever federal money is being thrown at something, you don't use it for abortion, as to not to impede on the religious liberties of people, because now you're messing with the freedom of religion, and now you're stepping on the toes of the Constitution, and you don't want to do that. Well, not this administration, not this Congress, not this Senate. This Senate is majority Democrat, which is stolen, and majority Democrat House. They don't care. They don't care. And it's not, for the first time, it's not even bipartisan. It is very partisan. Democrats are bloodthirsty, blood hungry. And if this doesn't wake you up to understand, if you guys don't understand the time and the seasons, especially if you're a believer, man, you are so blind. You are so gone. You are so not even paying attention at all. You got to open up. You got to open up your eyes. You got to understand what's going on, times and seasons that we're living in. It says also in this package, the Hyde Amendment, like I said, will be removed. And this basically keeps the government from forcing government-funded abortions, right, into programs. So if you remove that, why would the Democrats want to remove the Hyde Amendment if they're not worried about this money really going towards abortion? If they really want to help out the little guy and help out those struggling families and stuff, and it's not about abortion, that's garbage. Because also in there, they're trying to squeeze in all these hundreds of millions of dollars that President Trump was able to scrape off because he enacted the Hyde Amendment. He put that in place. And you can't use government federal money to do abortions. And if you're going to be doing family planning, right, family planning, but yet you still do abortions, then you're not in your facility. If you still do abortions in your facility and then you consider that family planning, no, you don't get the federal funding. So he was able to extract $50 to $60 million annually away from Planned Parenthood. Well, what's going on now with this Biden administration? He's re-giving all those millions of dollars that they were ousted, that they were out those 4 years. So you're looking at 50 million times 4 years, $200 million. $200 million is expected to go towards Planned Parenthood. Okay, with this stimulus package, okay? All right, they're pushing abortion and trying to get them paid up to speed because they invested a lot. These Planned Parenthood and abortion providers, they invested a lot into Biden and Kamala Harris, into their campaigns and stuff, and so many other Democrat politicians everywhere. You need to understand these things, okay? You need to vote these people out. So anyways, the Hyde Amendment is now being targeted and not going to be included, and this is what they're trying to push. Even that chick, the press secretary, I forget her name. Anyway, she was asked that question: can you guarantee? Can President Biden guarantee that the COVID stimulus package would not fund abortion, like the money would not go towards abortion? And she couldn't even answer that. She refused to answer that. She danced around it and she answered some silly questions. She says, oh, well, you know, the majority of Americans, 3/4 of Americans support this COVID relief package, da, da, da. So in essence, yeah, I just answered your question. So that should be enough. And that's garbage. That's not true. That's not true. So anyways, I'm just going on this because I think you need to understand what's going on with the Equality Act, not to mention so much other garbage that's happening with that Equality Act and everything, transgender and the changing and manipulation of words and so on. And so anyways, I don't want to make this video any longer than I have to. America, we got to pray. You guys got to pray. You got to pray. My prayer has been that pastors would wake up to their senses and see what time that we're living in so they could speak to the church. Not enough times have they spoken about abortion from the pulpit because of ignorance, perhaps, because of fear, or because they actually agree with it. Either way, all of them are piss poor excuses. The topics have to happen. The conversation has to happen because it's happening real time. It's a conversation that's been happening over the years, whether it's on social media, at the water cooler, at work, wherever. The conversation's happening. And they need to have a biblical, its members, church members have to have a biblical perspective, a godly perspective on the matters at hand today. Okay? All right, so God bless you guys. I'm just giving this video to you live from my dining room and my home. And I just want to give you some insight, okay? Please leave your comments below. Like and share, subscribe if you don't mind. If you could pass this along to somebody that just wants a little insight so they can have some understanding of what's kind of included. There's so much more included, but this is really a bit on my heart. And I think in order to see revival in the land, yes, we have to bring this front and center, this abortion topic. And now is the time. You wait any longer, good God, you wait any longer, you missed the boat. You missed the boat. I mean, you're already getting left behind on this matter if you haven't jumped on and picking a side. You can't be on the fence because Satan owns the fence. So you got to pick a side, all right? So anyways, be blessed. Amen.